the season 42 week 6 official between Street Devils and NOOBPANZER, and on that countdown we are kicking off our first round here. In the blue we are going to be seeing Street Devils, in the red is going to be NOOBPANZER. We will have to see how they want to try and approach this mid. Of course, coming into this is going to be Street Devils as the underdogs, yet to score a point in this season so far, but that all has a potential to change. Domo's arriving at pretty much the same time, but a pretty aggressive mid coming out of Street Devils, looking to meet NOOBPANZER. Both the soldiers of NOOBPANZER in the air trying to get on Gedu, manages to recede in time, creating a little bit of chaos, and Vanny going down in that as well. It's going to be a 3-on-3, but the heal's very much still up for Street Devils, but they just want to count their chickens, heal up, and then think about reapproaching this bit. Of course, they've got a pretty chunky Uber advantage in hand, and they are going to want to deploy that as soon as their players are up.
Excellent, well played by Street Devils there. Their plans on mid so far look way better than they were during the start of the Premiership season. They keep their heals alive, as you mentioned, and they're going to now be moving into mid with this 100% Uber.
Yeah, we do see them coming in pretty rapid. They lose SNH right at the start, and Plague gets launched into the air. He's going to be pretty weak as well, unable to capitalize any frags really, and the two players going down opens up a bit of an opportunity, and a huge bomb from Joe manages to get Gedu and Plague. That was a beautiful stick pipe there in the choke, and they don't even allow Street Devils to get that cap over the line. The two players dying right at the apex of the Uber put them in a really sticky situation, and now the ball very much in NOOBPANZER's court, 80% advantage.
It's a shame because they played that almost perfectly with the Uber advantage. They just weren't able to execute the push into mid correctly. They ended up dropping too many players, and by the end of it they were just too far gone into what they were trying to attempt that they just ended up losing more, and now they're faced with a Uber disadvantage on last. NOOBPANZER ready, just taking buffs, ready to come in any second now.
Yeah, pretty vanilla hold from Street Devils. They're ready to rotate to the open side. They're trying to kite this Uber as best they can. They're doing a pretty good job thus far, only losing Chris as it stands as well. So a little bit of high ground going to NOOBPANZER. They're being really, really disciplined here. They're not getting too far ahead of themselves, but Gedu is only 20% away from this Uber charge now. It's just a bit of a spam battle. The offensive comes in from NOOBPANZER, but their flank is so painfully weak. And this opens up an excellent opportunity for a counter-attack from Street Devils. They're rotating through this lobby. They've got a 6% Uber advantage. It's ready to go. They're straight out of the shutters. They're collapsing in choke. A huge bomb from Plague. Gedu's so weak. He's going to crater. He does. The Uber does get popped off from Street Devils, and they manage to get that all-important frag. Lock out that second, and there is no risk of back cap from NOOBPANZER.
Yeah, the NOOBPANZER flank just getting picked apart there, trying to make something happen, and they were a bit slow to leave as well, just getting caught, and now it's Gedu with his Uber charge, with his heal advantage. Vanny just arriving on mid right now. The sticky traps so haven't been spotted, and Plague is going to be caught there. Just the traps on the hut were enough to take him down there, and a bomb from Chris to... Oh, that's lovely damage there, and Tom Match just gets cleaned up, and they're going to be chasing all the way into last NOOBPANZER shortly.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want. They want to sort of turn the tide of this game. This is what we're talking about. As soon as they have a setback, they just try and turn it back around as quickly as they can. We got Breeze behind for Street Devils as well. So that means technically they're 2 down on this last. So NOOBPANZER are not going to hang about here. They've got that cap over the line as well. Looks like they might be waiting for the Ubers to come up, in which case it will be equal. But Joe really, really far committed here. And Nevo going down to some good damage from Plague. Looks like Joe might as well. Really well played from Plague. He's managed to capitalize 2 enemy frags in the past 2 fights. He's been really, really solid thus far this map. So gonna see the offensive coming out. A huge bomb there from Dimul getting Coling and Plague as they try and come through that shutter. That high bomb was mega.
Yeah, Dimul's had some really nice bombs in recent times. Last season he was really incredible for Witness Gaming when he was playing for them. Just so clean there with his rockets and with the timing as well, which is the 2 essential things you need when playing Roma. Do see the 100% for Gedu again, as they take it bottom left. Uber might be coming out here.
Yeah, it looks like they're taking it nice and slow. It looks like Chris was in a position to try and force. Didn't quite get away with it. The stickies go down as well. So it's going to be a nice push out here. The Ubers are going to equalise, but Gedu managed to clinch onto it there. So that's good. Demule in a pretty aggro position, decides that he might be overstaying his welcome a little bit. So it's going to be a 4 versus 4 man as it stands. Uber up from both teams, and NOOBPANZER are going to look to make their next move. They're meandering their way towards this valley area, looking to get a pick on the flank of Street Devils. It's something they've exposed before, and see what they can get away with. But they've been spotted pretty diligently there. And a bit of an attempt for a high bomb coming out of Demul, but it looks like it's just being used for a little bit of space. They pick up Play Grey, someone we picked on before as well, so it seemed to be what they needed to open it up, but they use their Uber charge somewhat flippantly with only one player left in the fray.
Yeah, and Degu does keep his Uber charge for last. NOOBPANZER, though, they definitely want to try this force attempt, and only one soldier is going to be enough. A little bit of spam there for Joe helped to seal the deal, and looks like Street Devils still want to make something of this.
Or Thomas flanks behind, but doesn't manage to hit any significant shots onto Vanny, so he comes down as well. And now NOOBPANZER, they're quite happy to take their time, just try and slowly disassemble this Street Devils defense here, get the Uber charge up. It is a 35% advantage, so they're quite happy to just build up, turn the tides, and just try and erode this Street Devils defense.
He's on Spy though, he's decloaked behind the scout of Yeehor, he doesn't know, and there's one pick there. And he gets out alive, that is insane value, but it doesn't matter if this push doesn't quite work out.
Oh my god.
It's just a scramble on the point right now.
Yeah, Vanny manages to surf into safety as well. NOOBPANZER again opting to take this high ground side and just try and pick apart these Street Devils players, but they're healing up quicker than they're being damaged as it stands. They've left the point pretty open. It looks like they want to capitalize on that. The double bomb does come in, but seemingly discipline slips from Street Devils. They bomb both their soldiers at the same time, and then both get drawn off point at the same time, and that is going to be the first round going to NOOBPANZER, taking 7 minutes. Street Devils definitely putting up a bit of a fight, a lot of rough and tumble going on.
I think it's the Ubers so far from NOOBPANZER that are just looking slightly better for them, and that's what's given them this first round here as we head into this next mid.
Yeah, we're seeing a really early bomb coming out of Breeze and trying to get the air shot onto Joe. Doesn't quite come over the line. We see the counter-offensive coming in from Chris. Doesn't manage to achieve too much. They're all trying to get onto Gedo, but he's bobbing and weaving. Again, a very reserved mid for Street Devils. Again, Demul comes from behind and has a bit of repentance, getting both Coling and Gedo. That's what they wanted. He sort of took away from Street Devils what they really wanted, which was their medic to survive. And in turn, hand NOOBPANZER a full advantage here. So they're going to be looking to breeze their way into this second point and look to disassemble the Street Devils last push once again and make it 2-0.
Yeah, that mid-fight looked a bit shaky there from Street Devils. They banked on that Devilman kill early, and again, they were just... It seems like they were a little bit split there in the decision-making of what they wanted to do after that attempt failed, and Tomasz getting a pick onto Yeehor. Again, the picks actually working out in Street Devils' favour here with the defensive off classes, but again, NOOBPANZER are so good with the Ubers, and they're going to come in straight in from the left side here.
Yeah, the attempts to slow didn't quite work. Yeehol's going to be a bit late to the party, but that's not going to get in the way. NOOBPANZER Uber across. They're looking to collapse on as many players as possible. Not too many frags going over the line, but they managed to get Gedo, so at the very least, they've got themselves yet another advantage to keep rolling with. And it looks like that's what they're opting for. It seemed once they managed to breach in, and it was just slightly disjointed, and the frags just did not come true.
Yeah. All things considered, though, they will have another attempt at this, assuming that Vanny does live. Demul currently locking it down at the right-hand side. Off-classes have been spotted. Demul getting picked, overstaying his welcome there, just spamming a bit too much. That is going to be a bit of an annoyance here for NOOBPANZER, because it means that if they decide to go dot here, they won't have their soldier healthy before they do so, and Gedo currently building with his soldier, so yeah, it looks like they are going to dot push here.
Yeah, they come in on this open side again. They're going to look to try and cross. You see Street Devils really congested around that flank side area, and the rollout from Chris comes in just in time. They're getting so many frags, 3 players down from the Street Devils, no heals up as well. Vanny isolated, but we've just got these couple scroungers left about. And yeah, a pretty clinical final cleanup there from NOOBPANZER.
Yeah, and their last pushes so far have been very, very good. Just being able to convert these rounds, and so far it's been a bit of a struggle here for Street Devils on the mid. They had a first mid which seemed like they did have a plan. They got Gedo out alive and were able to secure an uber advantage, and looks like this time a similar mid from the first. They're going to be looking to meet NOOBPANZER here.
Yeah, it looks like they're not going to make the mistake of overbaiting Gedo there, because that seemed to be their undoing last time around. But it seems that in spite of that, the position they end up in is very, very similar. They're not going to let Demul get away with the nice round flank here this time, however. And instead, Breeze manages to get something on Chris and looks to return the favor. So it's looking pretty even here, but a very disjointed hold coming out of Street Devils. You know, both the scouts sort of kind of around the medic, but not really enough to put up a solid defense if NOOBPANZER decide to make this a full-fledged attack.
No fear from Joe currently right now, just laying down all this spam, and that's going to be an easy force. Just they were so far back. It was they had the high ground, sure, but Joe had all the room to lay down those sticky bombs and all that spam, and that bomb from Demul was just the insurance policy to get that force out quickly. And now it is well and truly in NOOBPANZER's hands now with the full Uber.
Yeah, looking pretty solid for them. Demul definitely filling the shoes of Ron's pretty well in this game. NOOBPANZER now on this cap. They've got a 55% advantage in hand. They've squandered advantages before here, so it looks like they don't want to slouch about. They're in through under, looking to get this gun down pretty rapid. They just need to try and capitalize on as many frags as possible here. The health not looking great for Street Devils here. Yeehaw managing to pick up two right at the start as well. They're just gonna have to try and scramble to this point. The bomb comes in, but they're so painfully weak. Thomas comes in as a spawner, but it's not going to be enough. That's two pretty rapid rounds out of NOOBPANZER. Are things uncoiling for Street Devils here?
Yeah, I think the experience or lack thereof is definitely showing. I mean, Joe was in choke for so long, and they had with little to no resistance as well. You definitely want to be punishing that area of the map on Sunshine, and here we go into the next mid. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a mirrored one for the side of Street Devils. Both soldiers taking position. They're taking their angles. Tegu, though, falling to spam already. Soldier bomb of conning bombs into choke. They're looking to make some sort of pincer here.
Yeah, of course, the natural reaction is going to be a counter-attack, but it seems slightly disjointed there, and it results in a full wipe, and Vanny avoiding the action by a pretty significant margin there. So the ball very much in NOOBPANZER's court, and they're looking to make it fall pretty rapid. They're all the way in last already, not allowing Street Devils to set up any defensive off-classes whatsoever. They've got the Uber charge in hand. They're just waiting for that second cap, and as far as they're concerned, this round is theirs already. So gonna have to see something pretty bold out of Street Devils to get this over the line. They managed to get the Uber pop from them. Second, it being capped pretty diligently as well. Joe sort of being picked away, but manages to pick up two with his sticky trap. It's just going to be Tomaz on the pyro and Gedu in spawn, and that is going to be the third round in what, like 5 or 6 minutes. That's a bit of a slip from Street Devils from what we saw in that first round.
Yeah, and it seems like they've already thrown everything into the kitchen sink in terms of these mids. I mean, I'm intrigued to see what the plan is this time. Are they going to go straight into them, or are they going to decide to mirror again? And what the situation will be like with the spam as well.
Yeah, they seem really focused on keeping Gedu alive, but it looks like they're being a bit more brazen this time. They're playing around their own Tetris. Again, a bit of a spam fight, trying to abrase the enemy team. We see the double bomb coming in from NOOBPANZER. They launch Gedu up in the air. There's going to be a rebomb from them. They're still alive, but Gedu manages to bob and weave. That's a really, really good start there. No soldiers up for NOOBPANZER. They have lost their demo man themselves in play grey, have Street Devils, so they're just looking to take it nice and slowly here. They're getting that cap over the line. They swap sides on this mid fight as well. Both teams getting pretty close to the supercharge, but significantly closer is NOOBPANZER, and it looks like they want to do a little something. Pick it up. Joe's really huge, but Yeehaw isolates Gedu and picks up that frag, so a full Uber advantage for NOOBPANZER. The spawners now coming in, Vanny bobbing and weaving. Looks like he might force, but he drops to Breeze. Oh, that's obviously not awful considering they killed Gedu immediately beforehand, but still a little bit sticky. But I think they still might have the momentum in hand.
That mid was looking better there for Street Devils. It's such a shame though that they ended up losing Gedu so early. It seems that with the it seems that they're already taking position in lobby, but what much you can't really do much here from this position as Demul's just gonna get free damage on anyone who peeks the doors, and it's looking like NOOBPANZER are in a really comfortable position here on the back of that mid fight.
Yeah, of course, they are just one round away from victory on this first map, securing themselves yet another 3 points on the table, and denying Street Devils yet another opportunity. We're going to have to see something pretty bold out of Street Devils to turn this around, but from this being in this position, it is not a easy order, especially with the new ruling where, you know, sort of it's just a 5-round win limit, not win difference. So a comeback is definitely even more of a challenge than previous. So we'll have to see what the approach is going to be. Both teams have their Uber charges up. It's a pretty standard hold from Street Devils here. We're seeing Chris come in with the bomb, trying to force the medic, but takes an awful lot of damage from that sentry. It's just going to be a single sack. And we'll have to see what the return is going to be. They're sending Breeze in through under. They haven't spotted him yet. He gets a rocket off. Oh, that second one, painfully close. That would definitely be in a fourth from Vanny.
Yeah, just the reload speed being the bane of the soldier's existence there, and well, Colin getting 2 picks as well, but NOOBPANZER now know where this sentry gun is, and it was really passive last time, and yeah, Tomesh as well picking a different spot, but I don't know what you feel about this sentry gun, Meer, but it worked the first time against the soldiers because it was so far back, but really, we've seen in Prem the sentry gun being placed a lot further forward on the top left just to help deny that choke point and to pin anyone against the walls. As I say that, SNH does get bluffed out by Chris.
It looks like they're just using it exclusively as a time-wasting maneuver because we know NOOBPANZER are quite contented with coming in and just sort of, you know, taking their time, taking the one side and then pushing across afterwards. So I think they're trying to force their hand a little bit and try and make it so that when they use that Uber charge, they're not actively shooting players and crossing over the entire time. But we do see a little bit of an attempt. They're open on this flank side now, NOOBPANZER. There's a lot of stickies obstructing Vanny's way, so they might get forced here. Really not healthy, especially Chris and Yeehaw on that point. They lose one. The potential to lose a couple more here as well, but we see Street Devils pulling that trigger first. The Ubercharge is out. They're trying to chase any players they can, and Chris does not quite manage to escape. But we see the counterattack coming from NOOBPANZER. They pop it off. They've got players down, but they have got that Uber advantage, so they're just looking to convert these frags as quickly as possible. There are just 2 soldiers left from their side, and some pretty healthy players from NOOBPANZER here, but they all need to commit at the same time if they want to get it before these spawners come in. And that is going to be game, set, and match. Map 1, 5-0 to NOOBPANZER.
That last push in the end, very scrappy, I must say. The flank was well and truly open from the side of the Street Devils, and Yihuo runs in from the flank completely for free, but he wasn't supported by a soldier. They do eventually get the force in the end, but not really clinical, I'd say, for the side of NOOBPANZER towards the end. A bit sloppy as well with Vanny with that one drop, so you know, not completely dominant here, I'd say.
Yeah, we did touch earlier on how when you're sort of the more inexperienced, the less seasoned Prem team, when you come into these games, you're going to want to sort of try and break the mold, try and disrupt things, try and make things a little bit more difficult. But it looked like on every single approach to those mids, Street Devils were just hell bent on getting, sort of regardless of what their initial positioning was, they were just hell bent on keeping Gedu alive and getting him into Valley. Now it seemed like they were sort of playing under the guise that they didn't necessarily plan on winning the mid, but they also didn't plan on losing second off the back of it. But what we found in a lot of instances is their bases were not covered, and the likes of Dimul, the likes of Chris, um, in spite of their best efforts, still managed to get Gedu picked off. So made things particularly tricky there. And then we just saw the approach of those NOOBPANZER lasts. And I suppose on that we should probably have a little bit of a peep at these logs. But I think it might be slightly telling of the scoreline. Is there anything that jumps out at you?
Um, just looking here, I see a bit of a performance there from Joe, 350 DPM, very nice indeed. Was a 5-0 victory, so you can obviously expect to see those kind of stats here, especially from a demo man. Again, a pretty rough game overall from the side of Street Devils in terms of stats. I mean, there's not too much here to look at, in my opinion. Nothing that really is of intrigue. In terms of the stats, nothing jumps at me,
No,
immediately.
you could basically write it yourself when you see that score
Yeah.
line. A couple of things I would point out, and obviously things that can be credited to how this game was particularly sticky for Street Devils. If you look at the demo man's stats, it looks like almost Plague and Joe's were almost mirrored. Now I know that's definitely down to um, sort of in part the space the soldiers mains and the protection coming out of the scouts from NOOBPANZER, particularly Yeehaw, who went 20-8. Um, it's a pretty stark comparison, and doubling the deaths, Gedu over Vanny. Sort of in that first round, both teams were going peg for peg. You know, it was an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth sort of thing. But then as things unraveled and Street Devils were sort of not necessarily going with the meta, but were doing the same thing repeatedly, it definitely opened up for NOOBPANZER to just completely tear the doors off of them and just keep that ball rolling and kept that ball rolling. They did. So Street Devils now they're gonna have to come into this and try and pull something out a little bit different. As we touched on before, we think that Breeze and Coling uh, are gonna have a little bit of a chance to create a little bit of chaos on this map, try and disrupt the NOOBPANZER mold, because although they tried to pull things apart last game, it was all samey. So I'm intrigued to see what the approach might be this time.
Yeah, and credit to Street Devils, their mids have definitely improved in general. I liked the ideas that they had on the mids, right? The execution was definitely not there. However, I, I just from watching from the bird's eye perspective, it seemed logical what they were trying to achieve, right? When NOOBPANZER, they figured out, all right, they're stacking all these players in Valley, like let's play in our own Valley and try and work the angles from there. Not sure how this is going to translate into Metalworks. I think in the past, Street Devils have relied on their soldiers to do the work, as you mentioned. So whether or not they will be, going for these aggressive high bombs, which is what we're used to be seeing on this map, the mailer bombs, or is Breeze going to try and go for anything super fast? I don't think so. Last time it didn't work out for him at all, getting onto Joe. So NOOBPANZER definitely have all the momentum, and if anything, Street Devils, it will be a phenomenal comeback if they were able to claw a couple midpoints here and eventually rounds. But Metalworks heavily favouring the soldiers, and again, it really favors NOOBPANZER with Demore and Chris, two veterans at this point who've been around for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the things we penned as Street Devil strengths were the things that NOOBPANZER absolutely nailed last map. The high bombs coming out of Chris and Demul were nutty. You know, it opened them up so many times. It really just it completely flumped Street Devils at every single opportunity, particularly on those mid fights. Now there were a couple where they got picked off, but the damage was sort of already done. You know, they pulled them into a position, they penned them like sheep, and so that is one of the many credits to the success of NOOBPANZER in that first map. So we'll have to see how things change. Of course, Street Devils need to be using this as some productive time. They need to be chatting about what needs to change, what they can do, what the approach needs to be, and how they can mix it up just a little bit to try and make NOOBPANZER think on their feet a little bit more, because out DMing, out coordinating just is not working as it stands. So we'll have to see how things unfold, because of obviously 2 weeks left. NOOBPANZER Street Devils are going to be pretty keen to get some points on that board.
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned, like just Joe containing them, he was playing aggressive in the choke points, and it really was the spam from him that was making the difference. And in the parts of the first map where Joe wasn't really having much impact. They had a much greater chance of success, I feel like, with the Street Devils. So I'm not suggesting that they need to just completely focus, like, be hell-bent on eliminating Joe from the map, but just to try and contain him a bit more, because he's just, at this point, he's just going, you know, full disrespect and just peeking the chokes a bit too hard here and just not getting punished for it. And he's able to lay down the damage, yes, but it's really no excuse for being in such a position where a better team would capitalize on it. But maybe that's something that they're feeding into on the side of NOOBPANZER. Like, you can definitely work these sort of mind games in TF2 against teams that are, in your opinion, you know, skill-wise worse than yourselves. You definitely can exploit these sorts of things, and Joe doing it to perfection last map. And yeah, we might see the same here unless the Street Devils have something to say about it.
I mean, it's a difficult toss-up, yeah, because you can say, oh, let's try and eliminate, let's try and kite this player away. But that could mean just falling into his trap, you know, letting him churn out 4 stickies in a row on you as he waltzes through a choke. Or it could mean, you know, just having someone watching pretty diligently. But as we say, the timer ticks down. We are into map 2. This is at season 42, week 6. It's Street Devils versus NOOBPANZER. First map was Sunshine, ending 5-0 in NOOBPANZER's favour. In the red, in the blue is going to be Street Devils. We are kicking off this first mid. Joe and Playgray here at pretty much the same time, but Breeze very aggro onto Joe, managing to go up right at the start there. It's going to be a counter double bomb there from NOOBPANZER. They want to get Gedu again. Seems like the game plan is carrying over. Managed to get him a nice safe and sound in the hands of Nevo is going to be Vanny, so it's a 2v2. Both scouts up from Street Devils, but staring down the barrel of a fully buffed Nevo on the high ground is a bit of a tall order.
You take this, you surely take this here, as they do go across the point and they bully Nevo out of the hills. So excellent work there. Tomasz just peeking a bit too far here. He's really low on health and he's forced to just hide for cover here, so he's gonna get picked off. Yeah, you really wanted to go for that play and not working out, but I do respect it there. I really do. NOOBPANZER winning that mid, well played to them, but a valiant effort indeed from Street Devils.
Well, they've bought themselves an awful lot of time here as well. You know, now they've obviously still got a huge disadvantage, but they've got the position they want. You know, they are in a position to try and get a nice early first force onto NOOBPANZER. It looks like Coling wants to be the one to try and pull that over the line, gets a rocket off onto Vanny. Not going to be no other players mucking in there, and the stickies are down, so no other opportunities for a force here. It's going to be Tomasz trying to get a headshot potentially on the medic, but it is not to be today. So we're seeing a pretty rapid Uber straight out of the gate. Looks like they want to pick off these players pretty rapid onto SNH, the heavy weapons guy. Not too many frags coming over just yet. It's just Breeze down. And the counter coming out of Street Devils. This could be potentially disastrous for NOOBPANZER if the damage can be churned out by Street Devils here. Dimul bombs across. He's on that cap point. He's the last player left in this fight. And that is pretty disastrous. It looks like NOOBPANZER sort of lost sight of just how small that advantage was.
Yeah, it looked really hairy for Street Devils there because they lost 2 soldiers really early on. Obviously, you had Colin going for the sack, and then Breeze gets picked off early in the Uber. So really good there to salvage that, but NOOBPANZER not quite exploiting the fact that they didn't have any soldiers to block as we head into this mid-fight with Colin already going down.
Yeah, he was launched into the air. Not quite the high bomb he was hoping for. He couldn't get a single rocket off, but Chris craters as well. So it's going to be a 4 versus 4. It was pretty neck and neck, so both teams just quite contented to wait for their spawners. Of course, Street Devils chilling on this bridge all the way back on mid are going to be NOOBPANZER on their side as well. So definitely respecting the Uber situation as it stands. They want to be nice and close to Chris and Yeehaw as they spawn. As Street Devils are waiting for their players to roll out as well. And we'll have to see who's going to be the ones to make the trade. It looks like they're both coming in at the same time. Better high ground coming out of NOOBPANZER. They use slightly later, and Coling going down as well. The position really scattered. Playgray isolated as well, and it's just going to have to be a backup from Street Devils. We do see Breeze, however, in this flank. He has been spotted. Gets head rocketed, and I think his days might be numbered. But he manages to take Chris out with him and still manages to just about stay alive, but not going to be much help on this last.
Oh, and NOOBPANZER, just the sheer presence they had on that last point, Dimul bombing in, and there was almost no one to deny that cap. And there we go, round 1 for NOOBPANZER, and Street Devils a bit of an awkward situation. They're not the trade not ideal for them. They didn't really have any advantage to work with other than what I would assume is a believed Uber advantage, which it turned out to be equal in the end, and they ended up dropping 2 players for that. As we head into the next mid, however.
Yeah, both demo men looking pretty square. The high ground currently dominated by NOOBPANZER, coming in again with his high bomb, completely unrelinquishing here. They don't get any significant damage, but they do create a little bit of chaos. Gedu, super weak as well, is chased down pretty diligently by Yeehaw, but you got 4 players in that house area. They're going to be able to lock it out. Demul bombs into Banana, gets that frag as well. These players so weak from Street Devils, and again, it's a repeat of Sunshine, but in an even tighter choke.
Yep, and only Tomash left alive. Just seemed that the soldiers of NOOBPANZER are just able to get so much more done. Breeze just gets taken down completely on his own, and he just wasn't supported by anyone. So what would have been a bomb that would have drawn a few eyes, just ended up to being an isolated free soldier pick for Nevo and Yeehaw, who were just so quick at taking down those soldiers when they present themselves. And here we go then, NOOBPANZER with an Uber advantage. Let's see how this turns out for them.
Yeah, they're coming in through Banana. Coling manages to evade an early death there. Only the gun going down so far. Gedu is isolated, however, 25% away from Uber charge. No heal target. It's going to be a little bit sticky there. The player's sort of isolated on this left-hand side for NOOBPANZER. The damage coming in slowly but surely. But they have lost a few of their own, so they're just going to have to chill out a little bit. They're 10% away from their Uber charge now. Looks like NOOBPANZER are not giving up just yet. They've got to focus on Gedu. Oh my god.
The crits
it pops
is in.
Off.
Onto SNH. The pistol shot's coming out.
45 apiece. Doesn't quite go as effectively as you would hope, but they managed to pick off those players hanging around in last. That crits was a stroke of genius, but you could see there are a lot of instances there where Gedu was not healing a player, and Uber would have definitely built in that time there. So we will see they push out, trying to resist on this bridge is Joe. A high bomb coming in from both soldiers of NOOBPANZER as well, and all the players that were far forward trying to suppress these chokes do go down for Street Devils, and the ball very much in NOOBPANZER's court. Again, 40% advantage players staring down the barrels of last, and they are not hanging about.
Yeah, and this is surely going to be around here. Uber just popped as an insurance policy to make sure no one dies here, and that's going to be round number 2 for NOOBPANZER. And on these mids for Street Devils, the soldiers are a little bit disconnected, it seems, or at least not supported. There definitely is an issue with how they're managing to actually pull off this aggression that they want to go for here. Like Gray, you know, as much as he is doing good damage, there just is a severe lack of coordination here when it comes to actually taking the fight to the enemy team's side.
Yeah, they didn't do much damage last bit, but the 2 soldiers out of NOOBPANZER definitely drew a lot of eyes, really penned in the players from Street Devils. They're doing it again. They land on the high ground, they pull SNH back, they create an awful lot of chaos. Playgray super weak on this point as well. They managed to somehow pick up those players. The scouts just being completely ignorant of the soldiers that distracted them so many times before. Street Devils managing to pick up that mid fight. A real solid effort from their scouts there and their sort of discipline to allow Chris and Demul to do what they wanted and what they have done on these first couple of mids, and just sort of undercut them a little bit with the speed. It was pretty good from them.
Yeah, and Demul and Chris, they managed to drag a scout out of the fight for a little while, but in the end it didn't make much of a difference. Perhaps Gedu could have survived on the mid if he had 2 scouts with him. As we now approach a situation where Gedu has 75% crits, but NOOBPANZER are looking to exploit this flank here, and they're getting a lot of value out of this.
Yeah, that's not too bad. There's a definite split as well from the Street Devils players. This is a map where you can really move yourself around with a great deal of venom and tenacity. So both the players are crawling all over this forward spawn already, and Chris on the flank manages to pick up Playgray and disrupt even more so Breeze super weak in this situation as well. Vanny does go down, which is not too bad for Street Devils there, but all of their own players just completely penned in that house.
And this crit streak here for Gedu, they believe in it. They definitely have the confidence to just switch to a completely different dynamic here. And crit streak on paper is the weaker Medigun, but looks like NOOBPANZER just want to force the dry fights here. They know that they can just win this based on the coordination alone, and the soldiers as well as Yeehaw going aggressive, just getting 3 picks there, nice and clean. Only 1 player left alive in the house. Oh, does try and get the pick onto Joe there, but he's going to be safe.
Yeah, the force definitely would have been slightly easier on that second point, but instead they decide to back all the way out. They've got this crits up now. They're making their way into Shutter in their own lobby. This is going to be a real sticky one, especially with the help of their medic. It's just going to be Joe that's isolated, but he's got Tiger Feet. They can't pick him off, and that crit's used to kill a completely isolated Demo Man. The counter Uber coming out, all of those Street Devils players so painfully close as a result of that crits Krieg. So it's going to be really, really tough for them to try and clinch onto this. There are some frags coming out, however, but NOOBPANZER just taking it nice and slow, but it seems to be a case that their players are just very disjointed and coming in at separate times, but the heals seem to be doing them pretty solid, but a 3 versus 1 is not the play, and a sort of a slip in discipline is their undoing in that last push.
Gedu now switching to the Medigun, and I think that's a good decision. I mean, this game is pretty telling of it. The difference in the Mediguns so that the Crits Krieg is just so inferior on defense, and it's almost like certain conditions need to be met before deciding on whether to use it. Chris and Demul, however, going for really aggressive high bombs, but Demul is just kind of left on his own at the end of that. Some nice damage being exchanged, but ultimately Street Devils, they hold on to last, which was miraculous in itself, but they've also cleaned up these flanking players really nicely, I must say so myself, and they're going to be capping up mid here.
I must say, Demul there was launched in the air by one of Playgray's stickies. So that was a completely unintentional sack where he hit 4 rockets on their entire team. So yeah, pretty solid out of them. So we do see an advantage for Street Devils. They're going to have to use it pretty rapid, but of course NOOBPANZER knows exactly what the score is and managed to make their way backwards pretty rapid there. So Yeehaw tries to pick up a little something on the sniper, but not at the minute. The Uber now popped. It does get forced out by the opposing soldier from NOOBPANZER. They managed to pick Breeze off from the side, Street Devils, and we're just going to see the counter Uber is much better here for NOOBPANZER. We do see a couple of soldiers hiding though, so it looks like they might try and convert some frags and then try and convert that into a last, but it's going to be a bit of a challenge for Street Devils here. SNH in this lobby, but he's met by 4 players, is going to have to back out and have a little bit of an evaluation about things. Street Devils sort of everywhere and nowhere all at the same time right now.
Gedu actually getting a saw onto Yeehaw, so Uber advantage has been acquired, but I don't think it really matters here if Tomasz can link up with his 2 soldiers here onto last and head straight for the point, but the timing not really favouring them, the spawn just not being quite fast enough to really help out his soldiers to the full extent, but all things considered, it was just enough there with Breeze surviving. Just that second of attention that he brought with such little health to spare was enough to get them that cap in the end.
That was a tough call to make as well, particularly for Gedu. He was just 5% away from Uber charge when they were all sort of fully committed to that point there. So obviously made the right decision there, and we're going to have to see how this next mid unfolds. We're on play grade cam, have to see what he wants to do. He's significantly faster than Joe this time, but no real damage to show for it. Breeze looks like he wants to replicate that first mid, and it seemingly results in a Joe frag Coling as well with a nice headshot on to the scout. It's so beautiful from all of the soldiers on this mid fight here. Oh, and a beautiful airshot from Coling as well, but the pain of not managing to convert that into a frag is definitely felt by me.
Chris just, he high bombed and took the attention from the scouts and then curved around mid-air, and then 2 rockets there popped Gedu up into the air and a nice air shot there to finish him off. So that is going to give them the full Uber advantage, and with Street Devils just spawning all on last here, they are forced to play this. As NOOBPANZER make their way into lobby, they're going to be leading on the Scout of Nebo.
Yeah, we're seeing the Uber coming out of Banana, leading it on the demo scout. The gun does go down, looking to lock off those doors. Of course, not so easily done. There's a lot of ground to cover on this last. A good bit of damage onto Playgray as well. They're trying to isolate Joe. They know how much damage he's capable of on these last, but seemingly their aggression just means that they're getting picked off by these new Panzer players quicker than ever. It's just Coling left. He's pretty chunked, but does get picked off by Chris eventually. Gets the cap over the line. And that is going to be round 3 to NOOBPANZER. They are 2 away from surefire victory on this second map.
That was a bit of a game of cat and mouse there, where the combo of NOOBPANZER were just chasing Street Devils onto last, and they eventually do win that one with their soldier and medic alive. So not the cleanest, but they managed to pull it off regardless, and they do get the key picks required in order to win it anyway. As we do head into this next mid fight, Joe very low here, being pressured so much, goes down.
A phenomenal mid from Playgray. He literally 3-sticked Joe right at the start of mid and just made it as tricky as possible for him to do anything. And now they're all just bunkering down around their side and just picking up whatever frags they can possibly get. Trying to get onto Vanny ultimately is their goal, but it's going to be a bit of a tall order, but they're putting the players away. Demul goes down and Nevo has to flex a little bit of discipline there to get out with his med. So it looks like they want to try at the very least to get a nice force on this second point now, Street Devils, and see what they want to do with the rollers out now, making their way to the front lines.
Yeah, Vanny's already moving in onto mid with this Uber. Let's see how Street Devils can break this. Breeze is hiding in the corner, but that is Colling actually getting the drop onto Vanny, and they already had 2 flank players committed, so that is 2 picks going the way of NOOBPANZER. Joe bombing in. This is just full out aggression here, and let's see if they are able to pick anything more off this. They pick off Colling as well. Playgray getting caught out too, so what looked to be quite good for Street Devils ended up being, a bit of a bleed there, losing their demo and their second soldier.
Yeah, not ideal for them, but they have got an Uber advantage in hand, Street Devils. Now it's going to be about 70%. They've got a player on Batman, NOOBPANZER here, so it looks like they want to try and get the force out of Street Devils. They want to try and keep Vanny alive here, but Street Devils taking their sweet old time, waiting for their spawners, pottering about. Now they're making their way towards house. This could make Demul's job very, very easy should he choose to. They use out pretty rapid, and again, as you would expect, Vanny is gone like the wind. They spot Demul eventually, and it looks like he's playing like a bit of a distractor, getting Playgray after all that as well.
Yeah. I didn't think he was going to get anything there. It looked like he wanted to bomb in post, but they spotted him just before the Uber faded. He was able to get the trade in the end with the help of his team, so what looked to be almost disastrous for him ended up being quite effective, as there is still a fight breaking out in this house area. There's 2 scouts on the beam. SNH though, winning against Yeehaw. Fantastic pick, and with the force as well. Demul going down as well on the flank. It's a disaster here for NOOBPANZER. Just an absolute collapse here, and Street Devils winning the DM fight.
I've just seen the most painful cam of my life. Nevo, you poor sod. He was being battered about all over the place. After Yeehaw went down, he just sort of went all in, trying to get their medic, trying to salvage a little bit of something, but oh god, my brain hurts from watching that. Poor sod. We do see Yeehaw on the sniper now. He has spawned up. He has been spotted, however, there. So trying to eliminate the Street Devils' advantage, but that is not so easily done as they try and make their way into the second.
High bomb coming out from Colling. He's going to land straight on the soldier. Nice there from him to get that damage, and does get traded out in the end, but they seem to have taken a fair amount of positioning on the side of Street Devils. They still need to be careful with this Yeehaw sniper, who was only really able to play in that small choke point there in the shutter door, and it didn't take much there to force him out. Now we see Gedu with the Uber advantage. It's only about 30%, but let's see what they make of this here.
Yeah, they're using in through Banana again. Looking to try and do something. SNH tries to pick off the stickies, but just ends up shooting the floor instead. We see 3 players coming to the point from NOOBPANZER at the same time. That's a critical mistake. They're all super congested to get the Uber charge over the line, but somehow they managed to step off point. And Street Devils that managed to pick up their second round. There's 11 minutes left. this has the potential to be anyone's game, which from the first 3 rounds coming in the first sort of 10 minutes is a pretty impressive turn of events for Street Devils here.
That was an odd round for sure. Vanny had Uber. It was really odd that they ended up getting that cap. He must have just taken it off for a second there, and the times 2 must have secured that for them as we head into this next mid. Breeze bombing straight onto the demo of Joe, and he gets so weak. Trades with the help of Playgray, that long range spam coming in. So now the Street Devils, they just need to protect Gedu now, and they are definitely in the correct prime position for that. However, they need to forfeit their position as they're now getting split as a result. This is looking really bad for them, potentially really scary, but NOOBPANZER are not looking to chase too hard here, thankfully.
Yeah, so they've got 2 players down. The Uber charges are about to equalize here as well. You see Chris trying to be pretty aggressive here as Street Devils have a little something to say about NOOBPANZER just waltzing into second for free. So they want Breeze to be the playmaker there. He goes into the completely exposed flank, so NOOBPANZER gonna have to do something about him, or he is gonna have to do something. He's trying to pull the players back, gets air shot once by Dumul and picked off, so that player going down and Colling's super weak as well. Might be the opening that NOOBPANZER need, but they're not looking too pretty themselves with 2 of their flank players down. So it's going to be a bit of an Uber trade. It seems it's going ahead on this bridge. Looks like it might favor NOOBPANZER slightly better. They've definitely got slightly better position off the back of it. And it's just going to be a bit of a melee at the end. They lose Vanny. That's pretty sticky for them. So the heals could come in and potentially make things unsettled.
Gedu with a massive respawn as Playgray gets bombed, taken down by Yeehaw. So NOOBPANZER with the spawn advantage are really looking to take this fight, and they do indeed. And another air shot there from Chris. That's
what a beaut.
Yeah, the second one that I've seen from him. So he is playing really well so far, and that was just a matter of the spawns, I imagine, as NOOBPANZER just persistent in winning that fight, and they eventually do. It was a long, drawn-out, messy fight, which you don't tend to normally see on Metalworks, all things considered, but it has secured Vanny a small Uber advantage. It is enough to work on based on what we've seen with the Street Devils. The 30% more or less is more than manageable here. We're going to see where they take this and who they lead on.
This is a slightly interesting position of a gun from Tomaz. I'm intrigued to see what that'll do. Maybe watch one tiny corner of point, or indeed distract about 4 seconds of the Uber charge. You'll take that as well. It is a little bit of a melee here. The Uber coming out super late from Street Devils. That's exactly what they want here. They just want to try and clean up these players, but Yeehaw has some tiger feet and manages to dodge absolutely everything. 4 players down for Street Devils, and the 2 remaining obviously do not last long against that collapse from NOOBPANZER. That's not too shabby from NOOBPANZER as they look to close it out one more round. There are still 8 minutes left, so Street Devils, if they get their act together, definitely have the potential to cause an upset here, particularly after sort of the weaknesses they exposed on that first map. It's definitely going to be one for the books.
They're definitely looking stronger this time around as we head into the next mid. Joe is getting absolutely destroyed by Playgray on these mids in terms of actual damage output early on. Chris doing a high bomb though manages to isolate Playgray. He just wasn't linked up with his scout, and that's going to be an instant leave for Gedu there, playing it safe.
Yeah, both demos individually managing to keep themselves sort of slightly protected, but yeah, as you pointed out there, Joe has been getting absolutely mulched by Playgray in these early mids. It didn't look like the case in the first couple, but definitely in these last couple, it's definitely been something that's apparent. So it might justify a slight change in action, but you know, they're 2 rounds up. They're staring into the last of Street Devils already, so maybe speaking a little bit too soon. Tomaz is on the sniper class, looking to disrupt, looking to slow down this NOOBPANZER push, but the others are equal, and the double sticky trap kill from Playgray might be just that.
Yeah, exactly. Just enough here to start poking onto second, and a headshot ringing out from Tomasz. Uber comes in, they want to trade this, but the combo was a little bit further back for the side of Street Devils. Regardless, NOOBPANZER still gets the trade that they were looking for. with the sniper of Tomash being having little to no impact here. He's forced to run back to spawn. That's one less player out of the fight. Spawn advantage going the way of NOOBPANZER. They just need to pull off this aggression, and they are doing it so far with 2 beautiful picks onto the 3 picks. The entire combo of Street Devils going down, and all it took was that trade when the enemy team had a sniper, and there we go. They win the 5v6.
Yeah, Chris managed to get behind in the chaos and just pick up 2 frags essentially for free. And that seemed to be the opener that allowed NOOBPANZER to get that final round that they needed. Of course, now it is a sort of round limit 5 rather than a round difference 5. So winning by sort of that margin on both maps is going to be NOOBPANZER, and Street Devils yet to answer for any points in Prem. Unfortunately for them, it was looking pretty good at times. They were looking comfortable. You know, we saw that super long round at the start of Sunshine, and then some moments of glory on Metalworks as well, but unfortunately was not to be today. But their opportunities are not over. There is still another week left. But on that note, should we have a little bit of a look at these logs, Megalodon?
Yeah, it's going to be fairly interesting, this one, as it was a lot more back and forth on Metalworks and not as one-sided as Sunshine was. However, you see here, again, the death count on Street Devils is fairly high. A few players there breaking the 20 death barrier. As much as Plague Grey was doing well in the early mids, it seemed like he was falling off a little bit in other areas of the map. In terms of NOOBPANZER, Joe having significantly less impact, which does tie in with what I was suggesting earlier, where I think if they put Joe in check, if they don't allow him to get as much spam as he got on Sunshine, then they'll have a much easier time. And comparing to the 2 results on the 2 different maps, you can see that kind of coming into play here. Other than that, again, you have the synergy of these NOOBPANZER players. They've played together before, as I said. When they have their main roster together, it's only Vanny that hasn't actually played on the side of Aura Electro, and NOOBPANZER is shaping up to be a sort of Aura Electro without Eames, as I've kind of labelled it this game, and judging from the roster shifts we've seen recently, and it just seems that the scouts are able just to achieve a lot more with Demol and Chris, and again, Tomash and SNH having good moments individually, but it's a team game at the end of the day, and the better team did win.
Yeah, of course, but obviously off the back of this, then there is just 1 regular season week left. NOOBPANZER at the start of this game were 4th out of 7 on the table with 12 points. Obviously now they're going to be 18. Street Devils still sit at the bottom on 0, unfortunately for them, but they can make it in the last week. They have not got an impossible fixture in the last one. They are playing against Venom Crest Pythons, who currently sits next to them in the table, and NOOBPANZER are going to come against Forfence. But do we have any final closing remarks on this game, Megalodon?
Nothing really, except for I was actually really impressed with Street Devils overall. I think they've had a productive season coming from Division 2 into the likes of Prem. It's no easy feat, and I don't think many teams, only in recent times, I can only remember the Mandem lineup, I guess, going from that sort of level and making that jump. There might have been some other teams that have made a similar jump of recent times, but in my head, that's the only one I can think of currently. So to make that massive jump into Prem and to give us a good show of games here is definitely a feat to be proud of here, and give them a shout out for having the courage, to step up to the Prem division, because it can be quite daunting at times, and we've seen teams, win Division 1 and then just, play the qualifiers, get through, and then just, decide not to join the division at the last second. So definitely congratulations, commiserations for Street Devils for their performance and just their overall season, as well as the game played today.
Good stuff. It definitely is a little bit of sink or swim, and I think we can be pretty rest assured that the players of Street Devils will be pretty weathered come the end of the season. So we'll have to wait and see. But yes, thank you very much. It's been me, the Meerkat, on the mic, joined by Megalodon, and one of the heroes of production that goes unsung so many times. It's the man himself, Big JMaxchill. You can join us on this channel, Team Fortress TV, tomorrow for the League of Shadows versus Venom Crest Pythons. And then the day after, Thursday, Forfence versus TF2 Easy. Those are going to be the remaining Week 6 officials for this week. You thought it was over. Oh no, we still got 2 weeks left. We still got playoffs. And we look forward to seeing you there. Cheers, gang.